Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching the broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, January 27th, 2024, as we round out the end of the month. We still don't have a report on drones, but we're getting more insight into what went wrong at the UFO hearing and more about how bad disclosure is in Congress. It seems like, it's dead, my friends. We've got a cover-up going, as good old Timber Chat would call it. On that note, let me go ahead and fast forward and jump into the studio and do a quick welcome of everybody in our audience. I have no idea how many people are out there, and I'm not going to look because we really do. On that note, let me go ahead, bring up our see who we have out in the chat, and welcome you in, my friends. I'd like to do this every night. I'm sorry. You can always go ahead and get yourself a coffee or a drink, whatever you're ready, and we'll be done in a second. But on that note, go ahead and welcome in Ann Joanne's here along with Abby Alexa. I see Amiga Rules. Ann Maurice here. You're new, Ann. Anton Ghost along with Azriel Aries is here along with Boofing. You're new as well. I see Carl Joe Garrison along with Christine Lynn. I see Cindy Fieldholler and DT. We've got Deborah Clar and Destiny Rocks. Dolly Farton's here along with Green Totems. Eric Roth and the Gurus just popped along with Ian Tate. I see Firefly, Francis Tremblay, Frank Rappa, Frazzle Says are both in the audience as well. Let's see who else we have out there. We've got Geraldine Ginger, Hemigod, I Sky High, exactly, does everything. Jack Gingers is here along with Jan. Good to see you. Message, and you gotta have a fun time. I can say things behind the scenes that I can't say, but you know what? It's a good one. Let's welcome in Jason X, JCat. Jeff is here, along with Jessica Jane 20. We got Johnny UFO, Justin Caesarez, along with Kane Northrup. We got Cap K, Kathy, and Kelly Broughton. Those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. We got Clipper here, along with Noodles, Cody. Noodles, you're new. Kristen Vargas here, along with Liliana Chuno. We got Madeline, Megan Betts, Michael the Turtleman. Michael the Turtleman, really interesting. There's a dead alien that they're calling the Turtleman out there. Are you somehow related? I don't think so, but welcome, Michael. We got Mick and Mr. Grimlock here, along with more HGHC. Mr. Joey Bezeron, along with Nancy Kuzmano. We got Necessary Dialogue and Niles Guy. I see Para Solo. Paul Damon is here. Paul, you don't need to apologize. We're used to you by now, my friend, but thank you. We appreciate that. Paul Johnson's here along with Peter Tremulous. We got Rainstorm Hunter and Ram, Rebecca, Richard, and River B. McDonald. I see Roland and Sam Wallace and Save My Republic. Yeah, I think we got someone to save our Republic in office now. We got Sharon Rose, Shelley Montgomery, Simon Says. Dash is here along with Stephen Forbes. We've got Steve Loop, Super Unknown, Terry Dactyl tonight. I got to thank the Chromosome Cowboy for coming in, along with High Grail, Tom Clark, the Toxic Revenger. We got Truth Seeker. Good to see a Truth Seeker. Long time no see. We got Turtlehead. We got two turtles in the audience. How about that? Vale is here along with Vito. Vito. Must be Italian. What a beautiful. Brada. Even a more of Italian name, Vito Brada. We got William Underwood. Fringe. Can't get your first name, Quetzalcoatl, something like that. That's someone putting their head in front of that. We got Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy, Yergi there, and Zap Roundsder. Actually, Zap, leave it at that. Road. Oh, just leave it at that. I got it. I can't get it right. I can't get it right. On that note, my friends, yeah, I'm not myself today. I was sick from work and I'm still feeling out of it, just worse in a different way. But on that note, let's go ahead and welcome in our friends from the back. Who in the heck do we have there today? Well, let's take a look. Well, our first person, Mr. I used to say, well, look at that. It's Daryl Zernick. Live long and prosper. But Daryl, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Thomas. A little tired myself today, but glad to be here with all the peeps.
Yeah, glad you could flap in, though. Your arms must be tired, yes.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming around and coming to us from the desert, from the Southwest. Let's welcome in our dear friend, Ed Brown. How's it going, Ed?
It's going real well, Thomas and Mike, and glad to be on the show tonight with you. We're looking forward to a good one.
Thank you, my friend. Great to have you here as always. You're a great regular. Love the recliners. I need to get a new one eventually. Good reminder of that time I see. Thank you, sir. Also want to welcome in, turning our sights to the north, the great white north for that matter. We've got two up there. First, we got to welcome in Mr. Freezerman from British Columbia. How's it going, Freezerman?
Going great, Thomas. Glad to see everybody, and it's going to be a really good show tonight, I can tell.
Really big shoe. There we go. Freezerman, thank you for coming in. And our next person comes from an unknown part of, actually, province of Canada. I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot the word province today. An unknown province in Canada where all the U's are silent. Let's welcome in Mr. Michael Sokoloff. How's it going, Michael?
It's going good, Thomas. It's going to be an interesting show tonight, I believe.
Oh, I think so. We're already getting emails saying, no, don't talk about that. That's wrong. No, we got to talk about it because it's out there. It's in the open. And I want weaponized. So probably one of the best ones, only ones I've seen start to end. And it was a decent one. Well, coming to us next, it's someone who's, I think you've been back before, Kyle. Kyle, where the heck are you from? Welcome, my friend.
I'm from South Carolina, Thomas.
Welcome from South Carolina, my dear friend, Kyle Reinhardt. Appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
Excellent. Our next friend is coming from Wisconsin, our dear friend, Laura Campbell. How's it going, Laura?
Going great, Thomas. No news on the drones, no report. But we all need to be patient. I think we're going to hear something in February or March.
Ooh, February. Oh. And now we've got like, oh, I can't remember. People on Twitter counting the hours of how long it's been. Grant Cameron is out there counting the hours of how much time it's gone since we haven't heard Trump's answer. He likes, well, he's from Canada, but he's a liberal socialist. So he doesn't.
Just be patient. It's coming.
Patience is a virtue. Leave it at that. Cannot get that out right. Also, next person coming in, Sergeant Daniel from the Marine Corps. Retired, I get. Yes, welcome, Sergeant Daniel.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you for coming out. And our last person in the back, let's welcome a person coming from, I think, New York. Let's welcome in Tia Marie. How's it going, Tia?
Hey, Thomas. Happy to be here. Excited for the show.
Excellent. Thanks for coming around, my dear lady. And on that
Always.
note, that very note, turn off that stinking music. That's not loud. Oh, shut up on that one. And that should wake you up. Mike, Disclosure, how the hell are you?
Oh, the puppies are barking, but I'm awake now, Thomas. So we're
There you
good.
go. Well, your puppies, you've got two Goldens. They start off like 12 or 14 pounds. How big are they now?
40.
40 pounds.
They're English cream golden retrievers. So gold is only in the name. They're actually white.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, yeah. Mike, if he ever wore black.
Oh, yeah.
With that and 4 cats now? Was it 4 or 5?
5.
Yes, you shall never wear black again. Otherwise, you're going to have to
No.
get yourself industrial-sized rollers to get rid of that hair.
Oh, my God. You ain't kidding. Oh, I know. Well, you got a husky, so I don't got to tell you.
Well, I've got
You know about
husky
that.
and I've got moose. Huskies
Right.
will just shed all the time, and moose likes to shed as well, and they're both white. So, oh, yeah.
Exactly. Uh-huh. So you and I are in exactly the same boat, my friend.
Yeah. Luckily, we're old enough where we can avoid wearing black.
Well, on occasion.
Yeah.
Yep. On
Cream-colored
occasion.
clothes. Say that 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
It seems to be the magic color, these pants, something like that.
Or flannel. I wear that too.
Oh, yeah.
Like you.
Oh, you wear flannel too?
Something
Yeah, I've been stuck in
do.
blue hoodie mode for a while. It seems very comfortable.
It is comfortable, and when you're doing stuff with the pets, the hair is not as noticeable.
No, just I'm not going to call them dust bunnies. It's bigger, more like dust cyclone. Cyclones of hair on your hardwood floors.
Yeah. Oh, you ain't kidding. Yep, that's right.
We love our pets here. Disclosure
We do.
tonight. Oh yeah,
We do.
I'll bring right now, but he passed out a little. Okay, on that note, you could probably see when I get to it. Mike, what an interesting day it's been.
And it all started with that recent episode of Weaponized.
Yeah.
Which was unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know they were going to bring this story up at this time.
No. I went to go watch one of the latest interviews with Ross Coulthart. I got a minute and a half into it, and it's like, oh God, I can't. And then I looked because I knew there was a weaponized podcast that was there, podcast that was there. That was really good, but good in a bad good way, kind of, because Mike, the must have said fuck 152 times at least. Jeremy Corbell, my God, I can people were saying the last couple weeks, month, that Jeremy Corbell was pissed off after the UAP hearing, and boy, did we get an earful as to the bullshit,
the extent of what he was dealing with and pissed off about.
Right, because it basically gets down to the level that disclosure coming through Congress is dead at this. People can say, oh God, we're going to come out with this thing, we're going to come out with that thing, we're going to bring this next greatest thing out and everything. Based on where the last UAP hearing could have been, we could have been a lot farther down the road. But I believe you're the one who broke the story on Twitter on this one, where we had, Ross Coulthart, Jeremy Corbell, and who was the other one who responded to it?
Gary Nolan.
Three of the top high people in the land of disclosure who basically confirmed what you were saying, that let's call it the deep state, Pentagon, who's about to get their pants ripped down, and want to call it cellophane wrapped around a tree like they do in Ukraine. Good idea. Great idea. But, it sounds like the deep state came in and they did push back against Congress. Now, Nancy Mace, after you came out with your tweet exposing all this stuff, said, hell or high water, we're going to have a hearing. But the witness, the star witness of Immaculate Constellation, who had a 22-page document, was not brought forward by Jeremy Corbell. That particular document was neutered down to 12 pages or 11 pages. They took off the cover page. They didn't give any of the credit to Jeremy Corbell as well, and they put it all on Michael Schellenberger. It's like they're, as Jeremy put it, they're trying to shape the UAP disclosure narrative rather than focus on bringing out the facts and bringing out the truth.
Right, because they had a golden opportunity to bring a firsthand whistleblower with direct knowledge publicly, and instead they did not. Nancy Mace blocked and would not allow that whistleblower to speak publicly at the hearing.
Right.
But what she did is she swapped him out for 4 other witnesses that had made all public statements before that hearing and just repeated them at the hearing.
Right.
So we got nothing
Well,
new.
Michael Gold from NASA, I don't think he said some of this stuff before. He actually said it as part of his hearing and stuff when he was part of the NASA hearings tomorrow.
Correct. That's correct. So every statement that was made at that previous hearing was all public statements already.
Right.
Right. No, we got nothing. It was almost like a whitewash because they were toning it down, Congress, and they were trying to put out there what's already been known. It was unlike what we got the previous year when David Grush had testified.
Right.
In comparison, it was like a complete and total whitewash with the last one.
Yeah. Okay. People are saying my mic is cutting out. Hold on.
No, I
I've
hear
got
your mic fine.
I know it's people in the back. They're hearing it's fine. This is going through OBS. So you're getting it pure. Let me go ahead and blah, blah, blah. Hold on. Blah, 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 blah. That's still going through. Let me just, I turn off the noise gate. I'll be fucked for a period. Okay, audience, is this better? Audience, it'll take you a couple seconds to see if it's better. I'll turn it off for right now. But I think, yeah, it comes and goes. Maybe it's just being extra. I'm not sure. We should be fine. Okay, we're okay now. But they're going to hear all you guys talking in the back because I've cut off my noise gate. So, Mike, go ahead and talk, and I will go ahead and be quiet and get this fixed so we're not going to hear Mike talking through my mic. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to take PVT. Your hand is up. You have a question?
No.
Just kind of an observation that I've made in the past 12 hours over the UHF radio frequencies. There's been a million watts that have been spread across 100 different frequencies for the past 12 hours, which is overwhelming anything. And they don't know where the source is of this frequency, but it's been going on for the past 12 hours. Nobody's ever seen it before.
And what is it indicating exactly? Just jamming out that frequency?
No, there's encryption within it.
Okay, did anybody get a chance to decode or verify that there is in fact an encrypted message in this signal?
Oh yeah. I'm watching the direct frequencies on a network here that has been monitoring it for the past 12 hours, and it's like anything. They haven't seen anything or heard anything like it. It's basically 110,000 watt stations broadcasting all at once.
What are the station's locations? Were they able to pinpoint it? Triangulate it?
Yes, but they've pinpointed the frequency, but it continuously jumps around from different bands. So it's on the move. It doesn't stay in one spot. It goes from one spot to another spot to another spot. So it's kind of hard to track, but
what's the general geographical location of where they're tracking it?
They think Cuba.
Cuba?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
So there's things going on the HF right now that are baffling people that have watched us for the past 50 years. And I don't know if it's drone tied or not. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm thinking that possibility could exist. So,
have you considered contacting the FAA? Not the FAA, no. The FCC.
They have made contacts in certain aspects of the government.
Yeah. All right. Interesting concept. Let's get back to the main story, Mike. This is something we can talk about later.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk.
This is way off topic right now.
Okay.
So back to talk about Jeremy Corbell and the situation where we're at, Mike.
Okay. Well, Corbell had, if anyone watched the Weaponized podcast, was very clear that he and George Knapp had the whistleblower for the Immaculate Constellation report that was issued to Congress. And Corbell had brought that report directly to Congress with the whistleblower. And they were given assurances by Nancy Mace and the UAP caucus within Congress that they would have an upcoming hearing, because if you remember back during that time, the hearing itself was proposed, but wasn't guaranteed to put into place that it was actually going to happen. We covered that on the show at that time.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So they were making agreements with Knapp and Corbell that they would work with them to bring firsthand witness report and bring out publicly who this witness is. And they made assurances. And during this time, they were also trying to get and find out whatever additional information that Knapp and Corbell had about the UAP that they've been investigating and the Immaculate Constellation unacknowledged special access program. But what happened was Knapp and Corbell were supposed to well, specifically Jeremy Corbell, was supposed to testify with the witness, the whistleblower that they brought to Congress.
Right.
Came right out to the Congress. And for months, this was going on behind the scenes for months. At the last minute, when they confirmed the date of November 13th for the hearing, Nancy Mace decided not to allow the whistleblower to testify publicly, or Corbell, called in Michael Schellenberger, who had spoken with the whistleblower and wrote that story in ProPublica, but was never in possession of the actual Immaculate Constellation report that was written by the whistleblower, that was submitted to Congress already by Jeremy Corbell.
Right.
And when he was supposed to testify as a journalist before the congressional hearing, he met with Corbell the night before the hearing, and Corbell gave him a copy of the actual report that he had written about when he broke the story, Schellenberger.
Right.
But when the hearing took place, Schellenberger went up to testify, and Nancy Mace publicly thanked Michael Schellenberger for submitting that report into the congressional record.
Which was submitting a lie on the congressional record, right?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was one perpetrated by Representative Nancy Mace. And then when this was occurring, Jeremy Corbell, who was at the hearing, was publicly heckling Schellenberger and told him to set the record straight. At that point, we have our friends who are also at the hearing, like Lou's former attorney, Ivan Hanel.
Right.
And he said that it seemed like Schellenberger was confused and wasn't sure if Corbell was addressing him publicly and loudly or maybe somebody else, and did not respond to the point that Corbell was making, who at that time was completely outraged that something like this could be perpetrated not by an individual, but by Congress.
Yeah. And part of the problem is, Mike, if we can, rewind the timeline a little bit, before this hearing happened, we're probably talking months before that, Jeremy Corbell went to 3 different members of Congress with him and his crew, and they sat down, were talking about it, talked about the Immaculate Constellation documents and everything. Then when they got to the point and were saying, would you like to talk with the whistleblower? And they would say yes. Jeremy then went and excused his entire crew that was with him, except for one cameraman, right?
The disguised cameraman. Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. And when the cameraman sat down, his name is Kyle. We don't know his last name, but that was the whistleblower. He did take the whistleblower with him, Mick.
Yes, he did. Because that's how he was able to bring somebody who is not publicly known and in serious danger if his identity is revealed prematurely. Because once he goes public to in a hearing that everybody around the world will see, if anything happens to him, he's got a degree of protection.
Right. And he said, come on in. It's safe. You're protected. We can bring you in and get you to exposure for Congress. And he did it to the 3 people. And then they go and they cut him out. They take a neutered version of the document, and that's what they present. And Jeremy, at this point, is saying, you can't trust Congress. They're compromised. And I will never bring another whistleblower into Congress ever again. Right, Mike?
Oh, he absolutely won't, because they got screwed over. They felt that Congress was trying to pump them for whatever information that they have on their own and suppress it from coming out publicly, including these witnesses. And they don't want that information in regards to firsthand knowledge of the UAP program from the government to come out to the public at all.
Right.
Whatsoever.
Now, the backstory for Immaculate Constellation, wasn't this set up during the Biden administration, Mike?
Yes, sir, it was. It actually, here's the thing. A lot of people were questioning Susan Goff and submitting FOIAs. And they wanted information on the Immaculate Constellation unacknowledged special access program that they believed to be being run by the Department of Defense. But she then publicly stated that they have no record of any special access program under the name Immaculate Constellation.
Special access
Everybody thought she was
program
lying.
in the Department of Defense called
In the Department of
Immaculate
Defense.
Constellation, which
Right, and
which technically she was right. It's not
She's
within the
legally telling the
DOD,
truth.
but it's in the executive branch.
It was exactly what it was, is something that is not widely known. It was, everyone associates the intelligence community, like the CIA, with having special access programs or controlled access programs, and the Department of Defense with having special access programs, either unacknowledged or waived. And that's usually where a program like this would be operated and funded. But what actually the Immaculate Constellation program was, is a presidential, meaning not the DOD or the CIA, the actual sitting president of the United States under the National Security Council, Jake Sullivan, was running this Immaculate Constellation USAP
Right.
to acquire any and all information by all U.S. government systems and suppress them. And lock them away
And
from being
if we just pause for a second here, the first time that we heard about a presidential special access program came from Senator Gillibrand, didn't it?
It did. And she threw that out there, which before that, people were scratching their heads like, well, I've never heard of that. What the hell is it? Because it's not publicly known, but it does exist. And that tells us that the sitting president at the time was obviously well aware
he
of the
was
UAP
he
problem.
may or may not have been completely aware, because it sounds like he signed a lot of stuff that he wasn't too cognizant of what he actually signed. So he may have signed it and known what he signed, but he may not have, and it was just things that were carried out from his administration.
Well, either way,
Yeah.
the previous administration had full knowledge of the UAP issue and was suppressing it. And that's something that nobody saw it coming from that direction. Oh, wait, weren't you and I making points when the subject came up on a regular basis about how it's the executive branch?
Oh, we've been
this
doing
is
that for
being
over a
blocked
year,
by?
Mike. Well over a year.
Oh, I know.
I've been calling out, and you as well, that this is an executive branch cover-up is what we've been dealing with time and time again, because if you look at where we've been seeing it from DOD, CIA, Department of Energy, all these different branches, right? Where do they all pile up underneath? The executive branch.
Exactly.
And potentially something else I had said, this may have been some programs that were put in place that are part of the executive branch, but maybe something that the president may or may not be actually briefed in on, and it's just an operation of the executive branch. Case in point, the executive branch, a lot of different parts within the executive branch, continuity of government goes from administration to administration, party to party, potentially. So there's an organization for some of the stuff that is there and steady, no matter who comes in as president. So this could be something potentially that's been part of the executive branch, but may have not been disclosed, because unless someone asks for it, you're not going to get told.
Right. But haven't you and I also made the same point that if there's going to be true disclosure coming from the government, it has to come from the top, not in the middle? So it would have to come from the executive branch if you want.
Well, yeah,
actual
I'm saying
disclosure?
this is from the executive branch. I'm just saying there could be things going on in the executive branch that are out of our purview, per se, that would allow that may have been set up by Eisenhower back in the day, that allow programs like this to continue on within the executive branch and go on in perpetuity, irrespective of who comes into office.
Right, because let's say that Eisenhower instituted a presidential and executive order.
Right.
That made this legal for the military-industrial complex to deal with the operations of a program like this and not have to answer to the public or Congress. And until a new sitting president or administration would come in, they would have to be aware of that specific order to be able to rescind it. And if they don't rescind it, it's still in play. And
Right.
that could have very well been going on since the 1950s. But you're right. It's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know it's there, you can't shut it down.
Right.
And that's obviously what may have been why they've been able to get away with this and run this for as long as they did, and still do. It's continuing right now, even with the new administration, until we hear otherwise, and it hasn't happened yet. We're still in the same position. Nothing changed.
Yeah. It's one of those things we just have to take a look at and understand there's a cover-up going in play. And more than anything, Mike, it's looking like Congress
has a hand in this, and they have their own agenda.
They're participating in the cover-up. They're not standing the ground that they should be. Who knows what kind of pressure they could be given to make them bend one way or the other. We know the deep state itself can be rather influential, and it's not just about going after the individual itself to get them to shut up. It's about going after their friends and family and their information that could potentially come out. They're pretty devious.
But here's the thing, Thomas. It is not isolated the way that we are both aware of an agency like the CIA or the Department of Defense. That's considered to be in the executive branch middle management. This has to come from the top. And the only place that would have that kind of power with Congress would be the executive branch out of the president's office, not the DOD or the CIA or anything that's Title 50, which is IC, or Title 10, which is military, Pentagon. None that they wouldn't have enough juice to force Congress into an agenda like this and have collusion and them collaborating with the DOD or the CIA. They'd be doing it only with the president's office directly. And that's obviously what came out of all this that you and I have been covering.
Yeah. Now, you know, just to go ahead and continue on about what's been going on in Congress since the last hearing. You know, remember we had the UAP caucus, right, Mike?
We did, yeah.
And I know we covered this last week, but this kind of gets into it because her name has been mentioned. Now, Nancy Mace, let me bring this up here, document guest, let me get it across, make it a little more visible for our audience. Now, Nancy Mace has a committee on cybersecurity, information technology, and government innovation. If you recall, the last hearing we had came from Nancy Mace's committee, the one who had said that come hell or high water, or bring it on, we're going to have a UFO hearing. Now, interesting enough, all the people on her committee, Mike, that actually went and supported disclosure and were pushing for it have all been removed from her committee. This includes Tim Burchett,
right?
Eric Burleson,
right?
Jared Moskowitz,
yep,
and Anna Polina Luna. All of them are associated with the quote-unquote unofficial UAP caucus. The only one who's remaining at this point is Nancy Mace.
Right, and she was the one that pulled the plug on Corbell and Knapp and their whistleblower with direct first-hand knowledge. And we know that the members of the UAP caucus that you just listed are all staunch advocates for disclosure.
100%.
Without a doubt.
Now let's call it 1,000%. Especially Tim Burchett, Mr. It's a cover-up.
That's right.
But not only is it a cover-up now, it's a cover-up in Congress. And everyone's been saying Congress is where it's at. Congress is the place. We need to get this passed. We need to get the UAPDA passed in the Senate and then in the House. And it's fallen flat year after year. And based on what I'm seeing going on here, and it seems like the House of Representatives is clamping down on this UFO thing.
Oh, they are. In a very strong way. See, I thought we were going in a positive direction for the first time when we found out that Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, removed our good friend there, Mike Turner from Ohio.
Yeah.
When he finally pulled him as the chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, that we were finally going to move closer towards disclosure. But in reality, it turns out that Nancy Mace, who is allegedly an advocate, who in reality with her actions turns out to be more of a hypocrite, is not so much for disclosure
No.
as meets the eye. Which
Now,
no one saw that coming.
I see some sad eyes and sad comments going in the chat and coming from our audience. Here's the thing. Any disclosure movements we've had coming out of Congress have had no teeth. It's like Granny pulled out her teeth and put them in a glass cup in the bathroom with Refrident to get them cleaned. They've never had any teeth. There are all these different requirements of what RO was supposed to do, what they were supposed to deliver, how much money they were supposed to have, all these different things that were going on. And you know what? It never happened. We never got the RO that we were promised. Heck, we never even got the disclosure coming through the National Archives, did we?
We did not.
No.
Right.
So
But what's
Congress
interesting
has
about this,
been inept.
hitting the brakes. They've been hitting the brakes the whole time. Meanwhile, telling everybody that they're pressing on the gas.
Yeah.
Which is something no one expected.
Sounds like Congress needs some Cialis to take them to the next level.
Yeah.
They're
Or
impotent.
Avialube.
They're impotent in regards to trying to get UFO disclosure as a law, and that's why we've been saying here at Disclosure Tonight, Mike and I, have saying the truth of it is this is an executive level an executive branch that we need to get the disclosure, because that's where it's all locked up. Granted, there can be money in the Pentagon, DOE in different areas, but truthfully, all those areas all bubble up to the president. And while there's a lot of negative Nancys that are out there, or muscle Marys, I could call them, just don't bend over in front of me, my friends. Just go ahead and take a break. We're going to get there. We're going to get some stuff out of our current executive branch, because if there's someone who doesn't like cover-ups, who doesn't like corruption, who doesn't like the deep state, all of it really started, Mike, with the UFO problem. We had the UFO crash at Roswell. Then we got the CIA, FBI, I think, or CIA at least. Then we got the Air Force, and then we got the National Security Act.
That was the killer.
Yeah.
The National Security Act of 1947.
And that went and changed us from the, let's just listen closely on this, folks. This changed us, seriously, from the United States of America to the national security state of America. Am I right or am I wrong?
1,000% you're right. And we've been battling against that since it was enacted back in 47. Nothing changed from then to now. And we're in the 21st century right now. That's disturbing. That tells us that this government that is supposed to be an experiment in democracy, in fact, is anything but democracy. It's not democratic. There's no real freedoms. And once they enacted this law and the other one subsequently since then, we haven't gotten any of the truth or transparency that's expected.
No.
And that we pay for with our tax dollars, that
Right.
we don't have any not knowledge or control over what they spend it on and what they lie to us about with
Right.
our own money.
We're getting some tweets. I mean, you're getting some. We're both getting some messages behind the scenes. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about Congress. They may not give us disclosure. It may push it down. What are we supposed to go ahead and stick our head in the sand like a frickin' ostrich? I'd ask none of your business if she's seen any government agencies going ahead and doing that down in Australia. But that's not how we should be. We should point out the corruption, point out the problems, and address it head on. Our audience deserves no less.
Well, that's why we're here. Otherwise, we'd be taking care of our families, dealing with our dogs, and living our lives as normal.
Yeah.
But the reason that we're doing this is to bring out truth and transparency, cover every part that the government is trying to hide. All
Hey,
the
Mike.
people who are responsible for it. Yeah.
I've got the Disclosure Tonight bar and grill covered. I think you've got the Disclosure Tonight petting zoo covered.
Yeah. Between the cats and the dogs? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
my
you're right about that.
Oh, God, yeah. We have a little bit of comedy. For those who don't know us, who have joined us recently, we are serious about not being serious. We like to have fun and joke about stuff at the same time while talking about serious objects, right? Serious topics.
Absolutely, because, look, we're like everybody else. We're family people. We're real people. We're down to earth. This is a job that we do. but we do it for the right reasons for
Yeah.
our family, for the public, because it's a dirty job. Someone's got to do
Someone's
it.
got to do it.
And as the mainstream media, as we've all well aware of, they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
So what's left?
Yeah.
People
I mean,
like you
even
and I
I'll
to do
share this one at work last week, I think it was, or the week before. My mind's a little bit blurry right now. I had an AVP at my company go ahead and stop me. I was walking through the cafeteria. He was with a meeting with 4 other people, and he stepped out of it to say, "Hey, Thomas." Shook my hand and patted me on the back and said, "You know what, Tom, you did a great job. Thanks for going ahead and sharing this stuff. I can't appreciate what you do for us." It's nice to have that.
Right, because it's about the appreciation for the work that you and I do to bring out this information to the public, because it's not widely spread out there and not a lot of people are doing this actual kind of work. And the ones who are, it's limited as far as resources, what they have to work with, and the access that is very difficult to acquire. So we do this because we believe in it, and we want the world and the public at large to be aware of everything that is being hidden from them from the government. So this is something that we do because we believe in what we're doing, and we're trying to get the truth out. So we have to also keep our sense of humor, because with all the stress that involves between our personal lives and this work that we do, and all the stress and aggravation that's involved directly with it, because look, this isn't just people getting together and having a conversation at the water cooler. When you're dealing with the government, when you're dealing with this level of corruption for the amount of time that's been going on, people have died. People have been killed. People have been threatened. Families have been put into danger. This is dangerous work, because they have a lot that they're trying to keep out of the public eye. And when we are trying to peel it open and shine the light of day on it, that puts us at risk.
Yeah.
So, and the truth of the matter is, we're not working for a large company that's paying us a huge salary to be doing this.
Not at all. You know, it's talking about the humor piece. I sent you this one. I sent it to Kelly Broad in the audience earlier today. She had a good time with it. Let me just go ahead and bring this up. Shows how we're serious about not being serious. Yes, this is a funny one, friends. Let's watch this. Little Trump signing an executive order for no more men's skinny jeans.
And lastly, sir, we have an executive order demanding that grown men stop wearing skinny jeans.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades.
So there you go. The executive order has been signed. No more skinny jeans for men, Mike. You have to clean out your closet.
I wouldn't fit into skinny jeans anyway, so that's okay. That's a good executive order.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting situation, to say the least. You know, we're looking at Congress and where things can go, and it's just in a, I guess a lot of people, we just have to go ahead and look forward to the possibility, and I'm looking forward to when the possibility actually becomes a fact, that we can actually look towards our president to go ahead and cut through this bullshit and tell us what's going on, Mike.
No, I agree, but like the points that we just made to our audience about the work that you and I do, there are other people involved in this, like Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, and that whistleblower that wanted to come out publicly and testify. If the Congress will not allow that, if we don't get the disclosure from the executive branch that we're waiting and looking for, people like that, like for an example, that whistleblower wasn't allowed to testify, they're going to bring him out publicly. He's going to come out to the public. He's going to speak exactly all the information as far as who he is, what he did, what he knows, and the proof that he has. So even though right now it seems like Congress has an agenda to prevent that from coming out, it's going to come out anyway. They can't stop it. So, and they can't stop us and the reporting that we do and the work that we do to bring the truth out all the time. They can't stop it. So even if we don't get it from where we want it or we're expecting it to come from, it'll come out either way. And I think 2025 is going to show that because of what's been going on. And it's going to be a good year, regardless of where it comes from. Like you've always pointed out on the show, it really doesn't matter who brings us the truth as long as we get the truth. Is
Right.
that not right, Thomas?
Well, absolutely. That's what it comes down to, is getting the facts about disclosure. You know, if these things have been here as part of humanity for the last 200,000 plus years, let's learn about it. Let's figure it out. If they somehow became involved in our evolution, bring it out. If they somehow became involved in our religion, with specific religious figures potentially, bring it out. You know, it may cause a little bit of a hustle or a tussle along the way, but coming out of it, you know, I think we'll be stronger as humanity than we would be not bringing out the truth.
Well, if you remember, and we've covered this, I don't know, 1,000 times on the show already. If you remember when President Reagan was addressing the UN, and he brought up that if there was a threat, an off this world, an alien threat, it would unite humanity, and we would be together as a race, as one, instead of our differences like we have the entire time. So at the very least, if that was publicly acknowledged, that we're not alone, and we don't know exactly what it entails with the presence that's here on Earth with us, it would help to solve a lot of the issues that we have with each other.
All right.
So
since you brought up Ronald Reagan, yes. I do have a better video that apparently I have on my hard drive here. You know, I've got probably 40 terabytes of data sitting around. Yeah, a lot. I'm a digital collector, my friends. Let me go ahead and bring up a bunch of little clips here, Mike, of Ronald Reagan back in the day. I think you'll appreciate this. You know, there's more than just his particular announcement and statement that he said at, what do you call it? That he said in front of the United Nations. Again, sorry, folks, I'm a little bit slow tonight. I've had my Adderall earlier today, but I'm fighting something off. I have no idea what the frick it is, but let's get to this little video clip here. Let's throw Mike and I up in the middle, but with Ronnie there. Let's go ahead and play this. All right, here we go. 2 minutes and 21 seconds of Ronald Reagan talking about disclosure. Actually, yeah, it's.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
I think maybe I'd answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, you know, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
There you go, Mike. That is the extended version. Usually people just know about the one from, if you want to call it, the United Nations, but there's two more, and we've got them here.
That's perfect. But the one in 1985 at the United Nations, this was at the height of the Cold War between Russia and the United States. And right after he had that speech, Reagan met with Gorbachev privately. And he asked him if there was a threat from an alien race, would Russia stand with the United States or not? And even at the height of the Cold War, with things being the way that they were, Gorbachev told him we would absolutely stand behind the United States. So that tells you that's an amazing statement at a time when you wouldn't expect an answer like that.
Now, rumor has it, Mike, that statement was made when he talked to Gorbachev about the same time that President Reagan at that time was informed that there was a giant ship spotted in the rings of Saturn.
Yeah.
Miles long.
Right. Which is why he was spouting that rhetoric, because at the time it was a concern.
Yeah.
Right. But it was nice to know that our foreign adversaries would be looking to stand with and support the United States if, in fact, something or an event like that were to take place. And you know what? Even with everything that's going on geopolitically around the world, and I know how close we are to World War III, it seems like each and every day, if, in fact, there was a recognized threat from outside of the human race, I think it would still work the same way. We would all probably unite together.
Hey, Mike.
Because what choice do we have? What's that, sir?
I need to address the audience. John Buttersbaugh, Sr. Question: every inch of Ukraine and Russia are covered by satellite and other electronic surveillance drones. Why are there no sightings coming from there? Well, John, have you looked into the sightings and the papers that were put out by the National Academy of Sciences Ukraine Astronomy Division? From there, you will find several papers that have been published that show, going back all the way to 2018, they have been recording types of ships that are everywhere. One is called a cosmic, which is a bright, brilliant object moving around. And the other one that they have is something called a phantom, which exactly resembles and matches the footage I have that was shot in Malta in 2021. So yes, there have been reports coming out of Ukraine, not coming from the government, not coming from the satellites, but coming from scientists. It doesn't get any better than that, does it, Mike?
No, that's actual scientific evidence, not just theory or conjecture. It's something that has been established.
Yes.
They have used their equipment to document this, write the reports that they have. So it's real. What they're seeing there is something that they can document and prove. The only problem is we also covered this part of the story, if you remember, when they were going to come out publicly with those reports and that evidence, it was shut down by Sean Kirkpatrick and Avi Loeb.
Yeah.
That had stated that if, in fact, those objects were traveling at those speeds, they would burst into flames, if I recall, Thomas?
Correct. If we had the objects going from 60,000 feet, I think it was, down to 50 feet in a fraction of a second, that they were traveling over 57,000 miles per hour, give or take, that there's no way that could have happened because those objects, like you were saying, should have burst into flames because of their interaction with our atmosphere.
Right, and that was a paper that was written jointly with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and Dr. Avi Loeb.
Mm-hmm.
Which completely disregarded at the time the fact that these craft, if they are far more advanced than we are, with an understanding of physics that we do not have, they could potentially be using technology that does not apply to our understanding of physics. And we've reported on that. We've talked about this on the show. So it was a joke and a farce when Kirkpatrick and Avi Loeb had tried to shut this information down.
Right.
But it doesn't change the fact that this information is real, it exists, and they're doing that kind of work over
So
there.
did you give up the point to where the information from Ukraine came out, and then Kirkpatrick, unannounced, drove 3.5 hours to Avi Loeb to go ahead and ring his doorbell to have a nice chat on his porch.
Because then it wouldn't be tracked through email or phone records.
Right.
So
No digital correspondence being tracked. He got in his car. He went there. He rang his doorbell, talked to Avi Loeb for hours. And then the next day, Avi Loeb put out a rebuttal. What would be so important that Sean Kirkpatrick would have to drive 3.5 hours from Maryland, right?
Right.
All the way up to where Avi Loeb was at.
Because they were trying to suppress this information from being recognized publicly. And you know what? As much as it pains me to say this, they were successful. Because they then blocked this information, this reports, from being published in scientific journals.
Yeah.
So it worked. Kirkpatrick was, again, successful.
And that's why, Mike, we have a special sponsor on this program, Avi Lube. There you go, friends. When you can't get disclosure the way you want it, just pour some Avi Lube on it, and it'll slide right in. Avi Lube, it's the best. It's the best solution from Avi Loeb. You never know.
Exactly.
Yes, I have this on my desk for these occasions.
You never know when it can come in handy.
Yeah. We're serious about being serious, but seriously, folks, that's bullshit. We have a scientist going ahead and publishing a paper, and then the day it comes out, Sean Kirkpatrick has to get in his little freaking Patrick mobile, freaking speed away for 3.5 hours. I can't believe those fucking assholes. How can they bring that information? I can't wait to get to Avi Loeb, and he gets there and says, Avi, you got to write this paper. Come on, man. I'm giving you all this, money, potentially. I've cut you in on all this information. You've got to go ahead and tell this. You've got to write this rebuttal for us. And here's the thing. When Avi Loeb wrote the information and countered the Academy of Sciences Ukraine Astronomy Division, and they countered what he had said, Avi never responded to it or their second paper, Mike. You got to wonder why.
Because it was bullshit, Thomas. That's why, obviously.
Yeah.
And Avi Loeb knew it.
Oh, God,
but then, if you remember, we talked about this as well. After that report was written by him, he had turned around and went on that expedition that was given direct coordinates from the government as to where to look for his tiny metal balls.
Oh, those tiny metal balls that he found at the bottom by, where was that? Near Tonga or somewhere? No, I forget which islands it was, down near Australia. But he went to go look for him, and all he found was equivalent to what they call a coal slag.
Right. So it seems like we started talking about this because Knapp and Corbell had secretly met with Congress to bring firsthand information on UAP that the government has been hiding out to the public, and got lied to and got that shut down. And then it seems like they got screwed over. Avi Loeb got into one hell of a working agreement with Kirkpatrick, and he thought he was going to get what he wanted out of it by getting pieces of Oumuamua. And in reality, all he ended up getting from Kirkpatrick was industrial slag. So he got fucked over. It seems that's usually how it plays out.
But here's the thing I want to bring out. Two things. First of all, Oumuamua was not discovered by Avi Loeb. It was another scientist, and Avi took that information and ran with it. Secondly, about the information that happened when that potential asteroid hit us head on, and that's the one he went out off of Papua New Guinea is where it was. My mind finally worked on that one.
You're right. Yeah,
when he went to go find it by Papua New Guinea, that was from another scientist.
It was the postdoc graduates, students that were working on the Avi Loeb, and he took their discoveries and claimed it for his own.
Right.
Right. And so he screwed over his own students.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then he worked with the government, and the government screwed him over. And it seems to be something that repeats itself time and time again.
Firefly's got this right, Mike. Didn't Avi Loeb say the aliens parachuted into the Earth's atmosphere Like von Neumann probes? Yes, that's exactly what he said. And that's why, these are some of the reasons why we've never asked Avi Loeb to go ahead and be on the show. Granted, he was even on Ashton Forbes' show, which pretty much means anybody can bring him on, but that's why we've never asked Avi on, because he seems to be like a compromised government asset.
Right. It's disinformation, and we called it out back then. And anything that we recognize as overt government disinformation, we will not give a platform to or be a part of or support in any way. Absolutely not. So once Thomas and I decide these figures that are out there publicly, who is somebody that's credible and somebody who is obviously acting on behalf of the government's agenda, the disinformation, we won't be a part of that, no matter who it is. So if there's people out there that you're aware of and you ask Thomas and myself, can we bring certain people on? Sometimes the answer is simply no, for the reasons that Thomas and I are discussing now. And we don't always discuss it publicly like we're doing right now, but that is usually the reasons why. If we don't bring somebody on, there's a good reason they're not coming on.
Right. Just like Ashton Forbes. We got multiple requests. You got multiple requests from Ashton Forbes to come on the channel.
Yes. But we also made the point that his story has been debunked several times by professionals, and the family members of the people who perished on MH370 need to have the peace that they deserve and not have that taken away from them for false claims that are made allegedly. And we won't participate or be a part of it.
Correct, sir.
That's why you won't see him here on the show.
Over hell or high water, I'll have to die first, Mike.
No, I know that, Thomas. You and I, we don't get paid to do this, but at the very least, we have our integrity, and that won't change.
Nope.
For anybody, for any goddamn reason.
Yeah. And it's also why when it came out about a week and a half ago, and that story was in 4chan about another egg being found in a cave in Antarctica.
Yeah.
We didn't cover it because it's all bullshit.
Nope. Right.
Nothing's verified. Nothing's there. None of the answers that should be there are there. And yes, it's a picture, and it's got a bunch of hieroglyphics and other kind of symbols on it and everything, but it's too good. And when you get something that's too good, you have to go ahead and look at it, because sometimes when it's too good, literally, it's too good, right?
If it's too, the old saying goes, if it's too good to be true, it often is. And we know that.
Right.
So when we see something like that, we're not going to buy into it hook, line, and sinker like some people do.
Now, I could go ahead like some other YouTube channels out there and go after a lot of sensational headlines and talk about all the grift that's going on out there. We try to go ahead and stay away from that because we're about disclosure. We're about the hardcore truth coming forward. Sometimes, yes, Sam, if it smells like a duck, walks like a duck, floats like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Right. That's right. And we've said that countless times as well. So we stand behind what we know to be true. The reason we do this is for truth and transparency to the public, because it's being suppressed with the government's agenda for decades now. And we will not challenge that or compromise our beliefs and what we fight for, no matter what. I don't care who's talking about it or what people want to know. If it's something that we know to be bullshit, we're not going to discuss it to the public.
But if it's bullshit, we'll call it out as bullshit. If it's something that's the truth, we'll call it out of the truth. And if it's something you don't see here on Disclosure tonight, for a lot of reasons, sometimes we're not going to cover it, and you'll get the picture without us saying anything.
Exactly. And that's how it should be, because we're professional and we're neutral and unbiased. And we report only on the facts as they are presented and are verified and credible. And if it's not, then we're not going to perpetrate any disinformation or bullshit so that the public can be confused and buy into something that is not worth wasting their time on. Yeah. So we'll just keep our mouth shut, because that's the right way to deal with it.
Personally, I like leaving the perps to law and order. Especially when it comes to aliens and their fascinations with our assholes.
Oh, well, that's where the Avi Loop comes in handy.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's another one. I guess we need to start marketing this to aliens as well, but I have a feeling they already have their own brand.
Could be, or the Galians, according to what the CIA psionics program is looking for.
Especially some of the guys on Twitter said, I'm a psionic, but no, I've had a lot of PTSD, so I'm a psionic too.
So you know what, Thomas? We have a lot of hands up back here.
I know. Let's get to Michael, then Freezer Man, and Nick and Daryl. Michael, go ahead. I know we've been chatting a lot. You got to be wondering, why the fuck didn't you call on me earlier?
Yeah. Two things. First off, if there's any anti-disclosure that went on back in the 40s, I think we should take a closer look at Harry S. Truman. And that's just a thought. Secondly, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but weren't during that hearing, your description tonight of the hearing is really good, but what about the guys in suits that were going around the room?
Mike, you want to answer that?
How does that fit?
It doesn't fit into the story that Thomas and I broke back then, or what Corbell and Knapp have been talking about now publicly.
Yes, I understand that. But during the description, like during the hearing, how does it fit in?
Well, it was never publicly identified who those men in suits were. So we don't know what part of it plays because we don't know who they are, what they were doing there. We do know Nancy Mace had made false allegations and promises and prevented this witness from coming forward to testify who should have been testifying.
Didn't Corbell say he had video of these guys?
From what I have had conversations, from my understanding is that it's about the fact that Congress seems to have its own agenda on not bringing the truth out publicly. And that's what the focus is on, Michael. And also that witness that they blocked from coming out is going to be brought out by them publicly and identified and bring the evidence and information that he was supposed to testify at the hearing moving forward. So that's what I'm aware of. Anything beyond that, I couldn't answer you.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering how it fit in. Thanks.
Hey, Mike.
You're welcome.
Before we go on to Freezer Man, I got to bring up this message from, let me find the one here from Pete Liebel. I disagree with Thomas and Mike. No problemo. I saw what they did with Mario Woods and Rick Doty. I think it means Doty. I thought we were really nice with Mario Woods. And we treated him with respect. We listened to his story. We asked him a bunch of great questions. So I'm not sure where Pete is going on this.
No, I think he's mistaken. He's not correct with what his point that he's making. And if you remember, Mario Woods and Rick Doty had met 40 years earlier and had not connected the entire time.
And Mario wanted to talk to Rick.
And Rick wanted to talk to Mario.
Yeah.
Which they did for over 2.5 hours for that show, from what I remember.
So we gave Mario an opportunity to talk with Rick and hear both sides of the story.
Correct. And they had a hell of a story.
I know.
It was great. And I don't know what Pete's talking. Oh, here he is. He's coming in. This should be interesting. Yeah, come on in, Pete.
Come on in, Pete. Fill us in. What are you talking about, my friend? I hate to put you in front of the firing squad, but do you have your blindfold on?
No, my gun's holstered. Don't worry about it. You know,
I'm joking. Pete.
What's up, Pete?
We were nice to Mario, weren't we?
We absolutely were. And Rick. And it was a hell of a show from what I remember. There was no controversy. There was no animosity coming from us.
No.
We were the ones that brought them together and on the show. Why would we have a problem with them?
I know.
Pete, now that you're back here, can you explain the points?
You're muted,
making?
my friend. I thought he joined us to talk to us. I just see some of the stuff in chat.
Am I there now?
We got you, my gray-haired friend.
Pete?
No, we're having a complete lack of communication. I mean, one of the most important things I've seen in my life is you guys bringing Mario Woods and Rick Doty together.
Okay.
And, I watch Vetted. I watch stuff. And he's
We'll forgive you for that, but that's okay. Go ahead, Pete.
No, it's an important thing that happened there. And I should probably just leave it at that. So I think what you guys did was amazing. I'm appreciative to Mike.
So it was a good thing then.
I mean, you know, what's that?
It was a good thing then.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
I mean, Thomas, you're providing the forum, and Mike is joining you and amplifying what you do.
Oh God, yeah.
But no, I think that was one of the, just as someone who's looking into this stuff.
Gotcha.
Various topics. Fuck. I mean, it's a big deal.
It was a great meeting, and thank you for clarifying that. That just shows you sometimes when people write something and someone else reads it, there's a disconnect that can sometimes happen.
Apparently that's happened, and I'm here to correct it.
Thank you, sir.
I think it was, I really appreciate what you guys did there.
Oh, thank you.
It was, it kind of came up with Ross Coulthart it was a Good Trouble Show where he's with Mr. Blitch, Colonel Blitch, Dr. Blitch, whatever.
Right.
And yeah, he just
does it seem I see some pausing, some sighing. Do you feel like you're getting some of this information jammed down your throat, and if you don't agree with it, you're the wrong person?
Oh, I'm pretty old into the subject. So far back that it's hard to keep a train of thought.
Yeah.
There's just so much information I've been over. I mean, it kind of started to me with
taking Michael right back.
Even the simple stuff like the assassination of Kennedy could have been related to the subject. These kind of things. It just gets into deep subjects. But anyway, just to reel it back in and get back out, let you guys get back to the show. No, you've completely misunderstood whatever bullshit I was thumbing, fat fingering in the chat. The ability of Thomas Fessler, and eventually from that cheeseburger eating guy, ending up with Mike ×3, bringing Richard Doty and Mario Woods together, I think is important. I think it's huge. And if you think it's a negative thing, I don't know. Sorry, we had this lack of communication, but I'll get back out. And
thanks, Pete. At least we were able to clear that up so that there isn't a misunderstanding.
Pete's always been.
I think it's huge, and I thank you.
I thank you for clarifying that. Seriously.
Have you guys not seen the many thanks I've offered to you guys over that one show? Oh, maybe you haven't. It's fine, but they're out there. It's documented. It's on the record, as some people would say. So
cool.
Very much appreciated.
Well, I appreciate you stepping up and clarifying that, my friend. It was just
just trying to keep up.
Oh yeah, you're doing a great job, my friend. Thank you. All right,
we got that. Have a lot of hands up back here, so we'll.
All right, we lost Brian Pemble. Brian, call back in, please do. Freezer Man, go ahead.
Thanks, Thomas. I watched the Weaponized podcast, and the point I wanted to make was that definitely the Congress has got their own agenda, but I was thinking that Jeremy was concerned about the safety of whistleblowers now, that bringing them forward.
He had said. Jeremy had said that he will never bring another whistleblower forward to Congress because they're not going to take him seriously. And basically, he doesn't trust people in Congress. And I guess it could be a safety issue to a degree, and that makes sense, Freezer Man.
Well, he was he made the point over and over that he had brought the whistleblower into those 3 specific congressmen offices to make sure that to prove to the guy that you can come forward and you will be okay. And now he obviously feels that he can't trust Congress at all and won't bring anybody out. And I don't blame him.
Yeah. I guess that's a way to look at it. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it is. But was there a question in there, Freezer?
No,
I'm sorry. No, my question was, do you guys think that could be why did he say that? Or did you guys get that impression? That's my question to both of you.
And again, rephrase the question. Why did he
What I wanted to know, Mike, was I wanted you and Thomas's impression that did he come across, did Jeremy come across as one of the reasons why he doesn't want to bring the whistleblowers in is because he doesn't feel they're going to be safe.
He doesn't trust Congress, flat out. He doesn't trust anybody in Congress, however you want to call trust, whether it's safety or other things. If someone is taking the risk to come forward and tell Congress this information, right? And then the person comes out, tells the people this, and they say, yes, we're going to bring it forward. But then those individuals who said, yes, we'll bring them in, we want to bring them in, they cave to the military-industrial complex. That's why he's saying they're never going to bring him out. I guess it could be a safety issue, but it's also more of these people aren't worth it because they're owned. That's why the title page for today's show is specifically UFO cover-up in Congress. What the hell is going on? I believe, Mike, that came directly from Jeremy's statement last night. Actually, he didn't say what the hell. I think he said what the fuck, to be honest.
No, you're right. He did.
Yeah. He was pissed.
We try to be family friendly here. So
yeah,
that's why we phrase it slightly differently. But
God, yeah.
Because you have to understand, they worked behind the scenes, behind closed doors, Corbell and Knapp, working directly with Nancy Mace, the UAP caucus, and Congress for the upcoming, at that time, public UAP hearing. And in all that time, they were made promises that the Congress was going to move forward with bringing this individual out publicly and be identified and bring out the evidence that they had, which is what we've all been fighting for and what they claim to be pushing for as well. But at the last minute, they shut it down, did not keep their promises, lied, tried to get as much information out of Knapp and Corbell about what they knew, and then bury and suppress it from coming out publicly. So if anybody had treated you like that, I don't think you'd be so quick to trust them again and try to repeat that.
You confided in them. You told them your secrets. You told them your stuff. You snuck the person into their office so they could have a one-to-one meeting on it, and then they freaking close the door in your face. And then they take, they take the work product, they neuter it from 22 pages down to how many pages? To 11 pages, right? Plus the cover page.
It was supposed to be 12 pages.
And they bring in a
blank page.
No, not just a blank page. They bring in someone else who's testifying in Congress many times, Schellenberger, this isn't his work. This isn't his investigation.
It wasn't his report because even though he broke the story on ProPublica and talked about the report, he was never in possession of the report. And when the hearing was scheduled for November 13th, he then met with Corbell in Washington on the night of November 12th, and that's when Corbell had given him the report to actually read for himself. And then on the 13th, when he went to testify, Nancy Mace publicly thanked Schellenberger for being the one to submit the report to Congress on the record. But it wasn't him. Schellenberger didn't submit that report to Congress. Corbell did.
And here's the thing. At the end of the hearing, we had Nancy Mace make a snide remark about Lou Elizondo, or was it after the hearing, saying, we're not here to listen about people trying to sell books, right?
Yeah, that was after the hearing.
Well, here's the thing. She had the opportunity to have the expert witness at her committee, and she turned the individual down.
She shut it down. It was a cover-up. Obviously, her and Congress have their own agenda to prevent the truth from actually coming out.
I would say the people who were going ahead and lobbying her, whether it's just people from the DOD or potentially from the military-industrial complex. You know what we need to do? We need to go ahead and look at were there any donations to Nancy Mace that came in with a month or two of her cutting out the whistleblower. That would be something that Brian Pemble would ask if he was here. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, Brian came in. He's here.
I know.
Yeah.
So, but before you answer that, I got something to add real quick, Brian. Obviously, we know now that finally, after all this time, Mike Turner is gone from his position of power within government. And that money that he was receiving all this time out of Lockheed and the military-industrial complex, do you think it's possible, in your opinion, that they knew that the stand-in for him is going to be Nancy Mace, and now that money could be funneling in her direction? It had to go somewhere.
Oh, but wait.
It didn't just get cut off. So what do
But
you
wait,
think, Brian?
Mike Turner has surfaced. Mike Turner has surfaced in the Military and Foreign Affairs Committee, Mike.
Okay.
You bring this up.
So,
here we go.
Yeah, that was probably the trade-off, in my opinion, when Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, had to say, "Look, Mike, you screwed me on this one. You're done.
Right.
I'm going to give you this other post." So that was the deal that was made.
So
he got demoted.
So he was put on the Military and Foreign Affairs Committee, not as a leader, because we have William Timmons,
right,
as the chairman. Shaus, I'm not even going to get there. Subramaniam is the ranking member, and he was put on there along with Anna Paulina Luna, who, if Mike Turner goes ahead and votes against disclosure or other things, Anna Paulina Luna will lever it off. But we also got Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia is another friend of disclosure, isn't he?
Oh, Garcia's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely pro-disclosure.
So that's where Turner wound up. They took him off his committee, and they put him on to as a chairman, and they put him on to as a member of the Military and Foreign Affairs Committee.
Yeah, he got demoted.
And I need to thank attorney of the EBEs, Mike Morris. Thanks for sharing this with us, because that's a very important fact.
It's good information and gives a really clear picture as far as what actually happened and what's going on.
Does that answer your question, Brian, about what happened to Turner?
Oh no, it wasn't even my question, but absolutely. And just for the audience, what's happening right now in the early days of the administration, you are seeing a lot of these appointments happening, and not all of them make the news. So it's very, very important that we keep up on this stuff, because this is the stuff that happens behind the scenes. When we are worried about the Mike Turners and everything else, they sneak these people in underneath other news coverage and everything else. But the fact is that these things not only affect their day-to-day lives, but obviously affects disclosure.
Right. But the good thing about it is, Mike Turner, when he was in charge of the committee he had before, when he had the opportunity to go ahead and pass UAPDA 2 years ago, it didn't even hit the committee. He immediately shut it down. He was the he was the person who said, "Thou shall not pass," and kicked them back because he didn't agree with it, because he represents a district in Dayton, Ohio that has Wright-Patterson and a bunch of defense contractors, doesn't he, Brian?
Yeah, and just real quick, you're exactly right, Thomas. So when we call this a bipartisan issue, it is. There are people on the left and there are people on the right that want this to go forward. But there are also people on the left and on the right that take money from a lot of these aerospace companies and everybody else, and that want it to be quashed and just be forgotten about. Well, we're not going to let it be forgotten about. These people are done. They're obsolete now. And so whether you're Democrat or Republican, we want you working for the people. And that's what people want. So these people should be done now. And hopefully that's what we're trying to root out, to use the pun, root and branch. We know who you are, you're done.
Yeah.
But look at the story that Thomas and I are covering right now. We know that they got rid of Turner finally, but now we found out secretly that Mace is the stand-in and performing a similar function that we didn't know about until this came out.
Yeah, and you're right, Mike. You alluded to that. I'm 50-50 on Mace, whether she's swamp or not, or whether she's undercover or something like that. That has yet to be seen, but I'm still 50-50 on her.
Well, Brian, you have to understand. Listen,
she's no Burchett. She's no Burchett.
No, but she obviously was the one who she specifically lied to Corbell and Knapp and this whistleblower for months before the actual hearing.
Yep,
and they
exactly.
blocked them at the last minute, did not allow this whistleblower to come out publicly with this information, and instead had put in 4 other witnesses that had repeated and regurgitated all of the public statements that they had made long before the hearing. Nothing new was learned or spoken about. So to me, I could see she's not an advocate for disclosure. If she was, we would be talking about the actual whistleblower with the real first-hand information. That's how I see it, Brian. You see it differently?
No, I don't. She took the cover page off, and as far as I know,
and put a blank page. Put a blank page on.
Correct, and is not taking credit for it. But she gives Schellenberger credit for having it on there.
As part of the congressional record, and that's the thing that's interesting, Brian. She put a lie in the congressional record. That's not good.
Right. So I'd be curious if that's correct. Mike is 100% correct on this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that insight, my friend. You're always clear and concise and bring out the facts that our audience is very interested in. Looks like, Nick, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yes, Rep Timmons. Are you excited about him? Because he's talked about disclosure before. He said...
Who is Timmons?
Yeah, Rep Timmons. He was in the committee, actually.
Timmons. Yes, go ahead, my friend. Yes.
Yeah, so, he said that... Matt Laszlo, I think a few months ago, that it could be China or it could be non-humans. I think you played the clip before. Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
well, I guess if he was talking about the drones, he likes to keep himself apprised of this stuff. And if he's coming out there and trying to go ahead and bring some reality to it and asking good questions, asking if it's China or UAP, I'm for it. Why not? We need to figure out where these things were coming from. And I know there were a bunch of trolls out in the audience say we're not going to get an answer. Trump will never give it to us. Just give it a lot of time. There's been a lot of things going on in our federal government, right, Mike?
For way too long, and it looks like now things might be finally moving in the right direction. We're just going to have to wait and see. That's all. Be patient.
Yeah.
We'll still wait and see.
Because the drones are still here.
Yeah, obviously. They never left.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, I have the end of a clip of an interview of Ross Coulthart with Gary Nolan. This came out today. I watched the whole thing start to finish, and this is just my own personal reflection on how Ross has been through a bunch of the interviews that he's put out through the last several days. He's not centered. He's pushing for an answer. He's pushing to hear the objective that he absolutely wants to hear. We've even heard him in some of the interviews, Mike, where he's actually gone and told Jake what answer to go ahead and say.
Yeah, we covered that on the show.
I know.
You're right.
Nothing against Ross. It's the job he's there for, what he wants to do. I saw this at the end of his interview today with Gary Nolan. I just want to go ahead and play this short clip to show how hard Ross was going ahead and pushing Gary, again, to get the answer he was looking for. Let me play this. Here we go. Turn the volume up all the way.
Can I get a definitive statement from you, Gary, on what you think you know about the existence of a non-human intelligence engaging with this planet?
My personal experience, both with people and the things that I've seen, is that there's something here. My problem is, again, as a scientist, that's my set of anecdotes. I need to get it into a form that I can hand to another scientist who sits in the office next to me and said, here's the data that you can use. There's so much data out there already that it's how do I compile a minimum list?
Hold on. I have to put on the Fair use. Text, even though News Nation could still hit us again. Let me continue. Here we go.
So that I can get colleagues' attention for the 5 minutes required to get them to say either it should be something that they follow up on or they can still go back to their day job. I mean, you're trying to get me to say something that I'm not going to go over that line because
I think Gary said it right there, very, very clear. You're trying to get me to say something. Loss of objectivity, but let me continue to play a little bit more.
If I don't maintain a certain level of skepticism, I just lose the credibility that I require for my scientific colleagues to feel that I'm a neutral observer.
Bingo. There you go. I think that says it really well, doesn't it, Mike?
I think we said it equally as well when we were describing to the audience that we are neutral, unbiased, and professional.
Oh, God,
in our
yeah.
coverage on everything, because like Gary said, you have to be, because if you're not, then you lose your credibility.
Bingo.
And then you're not able to perform your function or your job.
We had two things saying that, oh, God, he is an interviewer. What do you expect? Well, that's true. He's as much of a doctor as a dentist is. Well, no, he's actually not a doctor. He is a specialist in immunology and cancer research, right, Mike? Which means he's more than a doctor.
He is the professor of pathology at Stanford University.
Yes.
So he's a professional. Yes,
he's a total professional. He's the person that doctors actually look to for the answers on how to handle stuff. The guy's a genius, flat out.
He is. And has successful private companies and multiple patents on the technology that he's created himself in the medical field for pathology and immunology. So he's not an interviewer or just simply a guest. With
he's not in an examining room. He's in a laboratory because that's where he lives. He's the top of his field, like Anne Marie says. And I agree with that completely. He's just saying that, hey, you're trying to get an answer out of me to say this, but I'm going to tell you how I exactly feel. And I loved his answer on that.
It was an honest answer.
Yeah.
I appreciate it and agreed with it as well.
And actually, I have to say, this is the best looking Gary Nolan has been on camera to date. He has clearly updated his camera.
Obviously. But we still have hands back here, Thomas.
Syrup,
so
go ahead, my friend.
Oh, I was gonna comment on the Nancy Mace issue.
Do it, please. Go for it, my friend.
I was gonna kind of I wanted to fall. Sorry, I just walked out of the family dollar. Anyways, from my understanding, from what Jeremy Corbell said in his his little 3-part TV series that he did with TMZ, he was saying there were suits pulling people from pulling like Tim Burchett, Luna, etc., to the side and telling them, hey, you can't ask this question, you can't talk about this. Nancy Mace, in my opinion, was pulled to the side and told, hey, you can't mention this, you can't ask this. And I think, this is just my theory, I think they're trying to get rid of Jeremy Corbell's name as a whole. They don't even want his name to be mentioned, because he kind of hinted at that. I think they feel like Jeremy Corbell is starting to get too much information from these whistleblowers, and they want him gone and out of the picture. Whoever the suits are.
Well, clearly the suits wanted the whistleblower out of the picture more even than Jeremy Corbell. That's the sad point. Because apparently after the point, really quick here, Syrup, apparently after the point that they said they weren't going to bring the whistleblower on, then Jeremy Corbell raised my hand and say, then bring me on then.
So do you think Nancy Mace is compromised in the sense that she's being paid off, or do you feel like she feels like her position is threatened somehow, or do you think she felt like, you know what, I can't ask these questions, I gotta play ball here, or otherwise I'm
number one or number two? But it's not just threatening her, Syrup. It could be threatening her relatives, or her friends in her circle. Anytime that you're there in a position of power, right, to go ahead and bring something out, they will not just attack you. They're going to attack you in your inner circle, your outer circle, and find whatever way the information they can bring forward to take you down. Apparently, they must have had something salacious enough in those separate rings of information that she backed out of it. She still wanted to be strong, saying, hell or high water, I'm still having a hearing, but we didn't bring the whistleblower on. Ooh.
Yeah,
And if you remember, she said and created that, coined that catchphrase of hers as a pro-disclosure advocate.
Yeah.
That come hell or high water, nothing will stop her. Well, the only reason that came out to the public was because that was in response to her on our story that we covered here.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Laszlo reached out to her privately and asked her flat out if what we were reporting on, if she was aware of it and what her thoughts were.
Yeah.
And then she came out with that public statement, come hell or high
Absolutely.
water, nothing will stop me from having the hearing.
Oh, that
So let me ask
absolutely.
you-
Go ahead, sir.
Can I ask you guys this? Sorry. Do you think she's coming? Do you think she's a part of the cover up in the sense that she wants to cover this up, or do you think she's part of the cover up in the sense that she's
a pawn?
She can't. She's a pawn.
She's a pawn. Flat out.
So do you think she has any good intentions for this? Like
She
wants to be
she
able to-
had good intentions, but whatever they said to her changed those intentions. It had to be strong.
Got you.
And it's something strong enough to make her change her position on this from where it was. Now we got Daryl Zernick last.
This sucks, man. All right, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
not a problem. Daryl Zernick, and then we got a call on Rick Doty because he just popped in. Daryl, go ahead.
Can't wait to hear from Rick. Hey, just a little color on the Mike Turner thing. Mike Turner is widely known to be a member of the deep state, and it was reported in the New York Times that Trump is the one who told the Speaker of the House to get rid of him. So that's probably good.
Good.
That's excellent.
Yeah. That's how the House of Representatives should work. Not like when we had Paul, whatever his name was, in there. Simon? No. Yeah.
All
absolutely. All right. Rick Doty, welcome, my friend. Long time no see.
Thank you, Thomas. Good to be here. I just got home, so I had some business earlier and got tied up in traffic. I wasn't involved, but the interstate was shut down for about 2 hours. So, anyways, I'm here now.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, my
Glad to
friend.
be here.
Yeah, we've
You're
just been
very welcome.
talking about the whole situation going on
In
with.
Congress.
Go ahead, Mike.
We're talking about what's going on with Congress. I don't know. Have you been following what happened with the last hearing with Nat Corbell and this Immaculate Constellation whistleblower?
Yeah. You get into a Pandora's box with Jeremy, and I think he's, my own opinion is he's harming disclosure in some respects with what he's saying and the tantrums he makes on podcasts. I think he should be should rein himself in. He's a friend of mine. I chat with him now and then, but I think he's going off the deep end. I think he's too hung up right now in it, and he's going to harm some people's stories.
Come on the deep end. The water feels great.
Yeah, he and George Knapp is a very, very good friend of mine, and I think he needs to disassociate himself with Jeremy for right now. It looks too bad.
Well, it's
I don't know what.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know what Jeremy has in his closet. He claims to have these whistleblowers, but I personally know. In fact, I spent 2 hours on an airplane with this guy, flying from Washington, D.C. back to Denver, Colorado. And he is he has a great story. This whistleblower, and I'm not going to name him because he's Jeremy's. He got Jeremy. He's in Jeremy's back pocket, so to speak. But he's been told to do things that I would never tell anybody to do. It's going to harm his reputation when he does come out.
Are you talking about Ryan?
I can't say who.
Gotcha.
But he is a whistleblower, and
Gotcha.
and he has a great story, and he has a lot of proof. And apparently, he did take a polygraph examination because the DODIG requested a number of them to take them, and he did take one. So I'll just leave it at that without identifying him. But he's Jeremy's friend. I'll just put it that way.
So he's a real individual. Jeremy wasn't making this stuff up. You got to sit there and hang out with him and talk with him on a flight from DC going back to Denver.
Right. Yeah. I knew of him, but we just happened to be seated together. And for the first hour, because it's a 3.5 hour flight, for the first hour and a half, he slept. But when he woke up, he knew who I was, and we started talking, and, well, the story came out then.
So you talking about, Rick, so that we're on the same page. Is this the same whistleblower that was supposed to testify at the last hearing that Jeremy brought to Congress? Kyle, you're talking about?
I'm not going to say who it is.
Well, it was already said, so that's why I mentioned
No, Jeremy
it, but the
said his
point
name last night.
So are we talking about the whistleblower about Immaculate Constellation? Is that who you're referencing, Rick?
Yes.
Oh, so all right. So it is Kyle. Okay. The one that they disguised as a cameraman and brought into the halls of Congress. All right. Yeah. No, from what I hear, he's a good guy. And I talked with George today. And yeah, I understand your concerns about Jeremy, but I got to tell you, George is very grounded. And you know him well, so you know that he is. And the conversation that I had, he's not saying Jeremy was wrong. The way that they were handled by Congress and Nancy Mace specifically and lied to for 2 months straight by bringing Kyle forward, that was wrong. And there's no excuse for it. And they obviously is some sort of an agenda. We don't quite know exactly what that agenda is yet, but I'll tell you this. They're going to bring Kyle out publicly themselves. They're not going to wait for Congress or the government to do it. They're past that. And they're not going to trust the Congress ever again after the way this all played out. And you also know that Thomas and I broke this story on October 24th about the shenanigans that were going on within Congress behind closed doors. Everybody pushed back at that time, but they were wrong. And we were correct. And it's coming out now publicly. And that's why we're covering it and talking about it on the show today. But this is real. And why Congress is doing this, I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. But they are doing it. And like we mentioned, they got rid of the majority of the UAP caucus. And the people that are part of that, like Tim Burchett and Burleson and Jared Moskowitz and Anna Luna, are real devout advocates for real disclosure publicly. And they were removed. The only one surviving is, unfortunately, Nancy Mace. This is an issue. That's why we're covering it, because it's something that the public needs to know, needs to be aware of, and needs to know what the true obstacles are that may not be publicly known at the time, which is obviously what we're discussing. Jeremy's temper tantrums aside, has nothing to do with the facts. Follow the evidence, regardless of your emotions or opinions, which you and I have trained to do, Rick. And the facts in this doesn't change no matter how many fits Jeremy throws on camera. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And one reason our group don't align ourselves with the House is because of these problems that the House of Representatives are creating for disclosure. They have an agenda that doesn't correspond with the public's agenda. There's people within the House of Representatives that are too aligned with the executive branch and the intelligence community, which doesn't want this story out there.
Right.
And whereby in the Senate, we're more moderate, they're more moderate. But the House started the disclosure movement, and the Senate kind of sat back and watched what was occurring over in the House. And they didn't like it, but they didn't interfere because there's two separate entities, the House and the Senate. And now that, there's a different party in charge in the Senate, I think in February, the end of February, you're going to see some actions on the Senate. They're going to move for what they call legitimate hearings with legitimate whistleblowers who can speak and this is their words, the staffers' words, the real truth about the subject, in a way that the public will hear and listen to them.
Which is the right way to do it. So it seems like you're aligned with the right part of Congress to try to bring this out publicly the right way.
Right. But I have to say, though, for the longest time, the Senate has been tied up behind Kirsten Gillibrand, who has her nose snuggled into Arro's ass and hasn't gone anywhere. So we need to be able to get it beyond Kirsten Gillibrand and her fascination with Arro, who's been a cover-up agency. What do you think, though, Arro is going to change, Rick, now that we have Pete Hegseth as far as the new Secretary of Defense and we got Donald Trump as president?
I think you're going to see a new organization. It's not going to be it's going to be similar to Arro, but it's going to be a new type of entity that will start investigating these things with new people, legitimate people, and they're going to do it in a legitimate manner and not in a manner that covers up everything.
But they've been investigating it for 75 years. How about just bringing out the truth for what they know already?
Oh, I'm 100% for that, Thomas. And I think you're going to see a movement towards full disclosure. Well, not full disclosure, but disclosure enough that and in a way that the intelligence community will be satisfied with.
Do you think it'll be more than just sticking our toes in the water, or are we actually going to be wading around the shallow end?
No, I think they're going to stick their feet in the water up to their knees. I think
so. Wading really around the shallow end, actually the kiddie wading pool. Let's call it that.
That's right. That's right.
Just don't get your nose wet because it could get brain-eating amoebas or aliens, for that matter.
Yeah, I think they.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're going to make a movement. They're going to make a movement. They want to. The Senate staffers, there's a number of staffers that are just biting at the bit, waiting for their time to present these whistleblowers, some of whom we pushed forward, and some of them that are still waiting behind the lines that have never been disclosed. And these are the ones that will tell the real stories, the hands-on stories that will really move disclosure forward.
So is it just the staffers, or is it the senators behind the staffers who are also excited and want to move this thing forward?
No, it's the senators. And you know, we had a friend. I'm saying disclosure really had a good friend in Rubio, but he left, of course. Now he's Secretary of State. But his staffers, unfortunately, they left. Some with him, and some went to other senators. And so there are, I would say, the majority, at least the ones that we saw and talked to, the staffers wise, you know, they represent the senators. Unfortunately, we don't get a chance to sit down when we go there and talk to the senators. Once in a while, we do chat with them, but you know, they don't want to be out in the forefront. They want their staffers to set everything up, and from that point on, then once the hearing starts, then the senators will take over.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a bipartisan approach to this disclosure
Right.
within the
So it's
Senate.
not just going to be Gillibrand and her Democrat cohort there. It's going to be Democrats and Republicans bringing out to go ahead and bring out the truth. But honestly, we talked about Rubio. One person I'm really impressed with and how he talked about stuff, John Ratcliffe, new head of the CIA.
Yeah, like I said, I know John, known him for many, many years. Although I've never had any direct talks since he's been nominated and now confirmed as the director of CIA. He has the right attitude, and he has the right tactical experience to address this issue and bring it forward in a really a logical way. Now, you know, he's not going to give up everything that he knows.
But he said so much before he left office, you know, 4 years ago. My God, or 4 years ago. We've got pictures of them from space, from everything else. We know what these things are, you know. Let's see where he takes it. Let's see if he exposes the OGA.
Well, I could tell you this, and this is like breaking news.
Hold on, I've got something for that, Rick. Breaking UFOs alert coming from Rick Doty. Take it, Rick.
There is a staffer in the White House that came in with President Trump, who is going to be in the White House Intelligence Office, who is a absolute positive thinking person when it comes to disclosure. He has been with Trump for a long time, and he is a person. He's somewhat of an influencer. He can influence the right people to do the right thing. I can't promise you everything, but if there's one person that's in the White House right now, behind the scenes in the White House Intelligence Office, this guy is setting in motion a program towards disclosure.
So you mean somebody like Jake Sullivan, but not on the dark side?
Right. Yeah, this guy that I'm talking about has years of experience in intelligence. Very smart guy. Been in front and behind the scenes, so to speak, and actually behind the enemy lines, so to speak, too. Got a lot of experience, and he's trusted. He's trusted within the Republican organization, and he worked in the White House before, and I think he worked there from 2017 to 2019, and he's back, and so it's positive. I should say it's very, very positive to see this, and I've known him for a long time. To know that he's there, and disclosure isn't going to be put aside. It's always going to be brought up front in his own way. Now, I can't promise anything regarding what President Trump's going to do with it, but I know that I feel more stronger now about disclosure than I ever have before because of him and because of John Ratcliffe.
Wow, that says a lot for me, Rick, honestly. If that's how you feel, I'll glom onto it, and I will back you 100% and take that good feeling and go with it. But if we could, Ed Brown, you've had your hand up for a while, my dear friend.
Well, Thomas, I was sitting there just sort of reclining in my chair here listening to Rick, and it's like I don't want to follow him because he is so brilliant in everything he says.
Isn't he?
I feel
Really?
Like I
know.
contribute. What'd you say?
Isn't he really? I know it's great.
Yeah,
You know,
just-
we're
like
so thankful to have Rick be a part of the show and call in on everything. He has such a great insight. He has such a great history in this, a pedigree of everything. It's great to have him come in. He goes to DC on a regular basis. Heck, he even hung out with a freaking whistleblower that Jeremy Corbell was talking about. You know, you don't get better than that, my friend.
Yeah, I did want to comment on something he said, though. He's talking about Jeremy. I think he's almost his worst enemy at times.
Yeah.
And I don't know who told him he couldn't speak, whether it was Nancy Mace or someone else. But when you listen to him on all of his interviews and all of his podcasts, every third word would have been bleeped out of his congressional testimony. So maybe that, they gave that some consideration.
To be honest, when my husband was listening to him last night, saying, "Oh my God, he is so gay." Just listen to him talk and act.
I want to summarize, though, two things we've been talking about all evening and kind of go into two categories regarding this committee. One of them was the discussion about the paper and who testifies and whether Jeremy talks, and the other one. The other one is the change of assignments. And it seemed like we were pointing the blame at Nancy Mace on both of those, but realize, and Brian pointed this out earlier, many of those changes are done at a much higher level. It may have been Trump himself that wanted those changes. It may have been the Speaker of the House that wanted those changes. They didn't, I don't think, and Brian or someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they go to Nancy Mace and ask her who she wants on her committee. So we can't blame.
Well, no.
her
The
for
people who are
those.
taken off a committee and put on the committee is down to the Speaker of the House or
That's
the
right.
president, of that matter, for that degree. But all it seemed like is they disbanded the whole UAP caucuses is the visual aspect we have looking in. We haven't gotten quotes or anything from any of the members who were on that committee in the past or Nancy Mace herself. And I can't wait to hear what any of them are going to say.
Yeah, well, I hope Rick's right about the Senate picking the ball up and running with it, because it does seem that we kind of are stalled right now in the House over this last hearing. So,
Oh, God, yeah.
Anyway, thank you for letting me share my thoughts with you tonight.
Well, thank
Thomas.
you, Ed. Your thoughts are always poignant and on target. We appreciate it. Let's go to Ashley really quick. Ashley.
Hi, everyone. So I'm sorry I got in a little bit late, so I don't know if you already covered this, but I was wondering what your thoughts might be on Jeremy Corbell's new documentary called UFO Revolution.
I think it was the third episode that he talked the most about what he covered on his episode last night of Weaponized.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it was, Thomas.
Yeah.
And I just started watching it, and so I didn't realize that you guys were online, and I was in the middle of watching it, so I had to click off of it. But my thoughts are that George Knapp must see something in Jeremy, or else he wouldn't bring him on as a student. And I really do admire, Thomas, Rick, Mike, and several of the chat members as well. But I admire your feedback on all of this stuff, because I'm fairly new into it. And you guys have so much more knowledge than I do.
Yeah. Ashley, I would really encourage you. I know you jumped into us late. We covered a lot of this stuff earlier. If there's something called Team Rewatches, they call it, go ahead when you get a chance, watch the start of the show. We covered a lot of this stuff in excruciating detail, right, Mike?
And how do I get to the Team Rewatch?
No, you just go ahead and rewatch the show from the start, and you'll see all the different stuff that's going out there.
Yeah, you just start the episode over on YouTube.
Yeah.
You could start it now. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. But we appreciate you stopping in, asking questions and everything like that. That's what it's about, right, Mike? It's about community.
Exactly. Right. That's why we do what we do, to bring people who are not aware, to give them the information as best as we can.
No, Mike, I need to. We're already 4 minutes. Well, we're at the 2-hour post, but I do need to go ahead and cover a video about the drones are still there. They're back across New Jersey, and they're starting covered in the media again. How about that? Should we cover it?
Absolutely, we should.
Oh
That's
God,
a
yeah.
good
The New Jersey drones are back. The truth of the matter is they never left. Let me go ahead and get to this one. Here we go. Let's play it, folks.
So that's the airplane, but look at that.
This morning, it's not deja vu, but a possible return of more drones.
The lights are coordinated.
From Connecticut to New Jersey, new videos emerging once again.
We have like a field in the back of our house and we can see them up there.
Mandy Malasich, like others in the Northeast, spotted drones in December.
It's not a plane.
Before the night sky seemingly went dark after the FAA temporarily banned drone flights in parts of the Garden State and New York amid thousands of reported sightings. Then, just over a week ago, the month-long restrictions were lifted.
Have you seen them since?
We have. My daughter saw one the other day.
We're a sightings alert network.
Enigma Labs, a research company studying unidentified phenomena, has tallied...
Who's actually funded by RO and not to be trusted. Don't download their app. Don't give them information because it's a shill.
650 sightings nationally described as drone-related since November, and they say most are concentrated in the Northeast. After seeing a drop in those numbers immediately following the ban, Enigma says just this month they've received 49 reports in New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, 14 of which came after the flight bans expired.
If you look at the reports that people are submitting, they're saying, I'm still seeing them, ban or no ban, and they're happening.
We pressed New York Senator Chuck Schumer Sunday about the validity of those reports.
We have now seen new drone sightings, and we're going to have to look into these.
President Trump also vowing the same on his first day back in the White House.
I would like to find out what it is and tell the people.
The president says drones flew over his Bedminster, New Jersey golf club, too, where FAA restrictions remain in effect until the end of the month. In a statement to NBC News, the FAA did not confirm the new sightings, but said the agency is responsible for ensuring drones operate safely within the broader national airspace system. Even though the Biden White House dismissed any national security risk, residents say they haven't gotten much of an explanation.
Do you feel like you've had any sort of clarity?
No, and it's pretty frustrating and upsetting not to know,
I mean, that's the sentiment that's been expressed by so many from the beginning, Sam, just no explanation. Any indication at this point, Sam, what's behind the sightings this time around?
Yeah, not really. So authorities, you'll recall initially, Craig, you're probably either looking at aircraft or illegal drones. The FBI referred us back to a statement they initially made with the FAA and DHS that of about 5,000 sightings, maybe 100 of them were actually worthy of investigation. As for Enigma, they say that no. These numbers right now are probably underreported because people have no idea what they're looking at the sky, and some of those sightings are coming without a designation. So the number could actually be much higher than what we're telling you.
Yeah, it's
back to
just
you guys.
so many questions, Sam. All right, stay on it, buddy. Thank you.
Hey,
So
thanks
many
for
questions
watching.
and
Don't
getting
miss the
to it.
Today
It just shows that the drones are back, Mike, and they've actually from the reporting we've been seeing, they've never left.
Yeah, but you and I have been talking about this because we know that that's a correct statement. They never left. The mainstream media stopped talking about it,
Right.
and we talked about that as well. But they never left. They didn't go someplace else and come back. They've been here the entire time.
Yep, that's the
Just
same
no one's
thing Big
talking about
Daddy's
it.
saying. Bad Daddy's been saying in the chat. Absolutely, yeah, it's been going on. We don't have an answer, and hopefully, our new president, when we should be able to get an answer from him sooner than later. If we can, last person with their hands up tonight, Sergeant Daniel from the Marine Corps. Daniel?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I think Trump's I think he sees the whole big picture. He always has. And he's going to cement himself into history by releasing this. And I think he has to do it real carefully. He doesn't want to tank the economy, or do something silly, with oil. I don't know what Rick's hearing, but I have a feeling that he's going to try to put himself up on Mount Rushmore, and what he's doing all these things, and people are loving what he's doing. He's riding a high wave, but once he comes out and says we're not alone, I think it's going to cement him in history, and I think he realizes that. I think Marco Rubio, I think he's been put in there, and all the other people have been put in there strategically, so he can just fire everybody that's lied to him. Because I'm pretty sure he probably got lied to the last time. You know, when he was in office, when he asked the questions.
Exactly.
I mean,
We had President Biden, who was very friendly to illegal aliens, and these are aliens that are in their skies, and he didn't take that opportunity, did he?
Oh, we didn't want to deport them, you know. I mean, but I mean, I think if you think about it, does the phenomenon or whatever they call the 4 races that Rick referenced,
6,
have they decided, or 7? Have they come out and said we want to be known? You know, because obviously they've been working, you know, for years and years and years trying to stay secret. But have they come out? You know, I mean, is this an indicator with all the drones? Is it, you know, are they finally saying, hey, we can be known? Because I think they were working with the government to hide themselves, not with them, but you know, they were both having the same goal in mind, keeping it secret. So that's all I had.
Great points, my friend. I appreciate that. Wow. What a great show. Holy cow. We just had a super chat coming from Rick Doty, $50. Thank you very much, Rick. Holy cow. I appreciate that. Wow.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Rick.
Good. On that
You
note,
deserve it, Thomas.
thank you very much, sir. We try to do our best here at Disclosure tonight, day in, day out. Mike, I appreciate the time you give coming from the Disclosure Tonight Petting Zoo and here at the Disclosure Tonight Bar and Grill. We actually have 2 locations open for business, Mike. Usually I thought you were just a bartender at the Bar and Grill, but what the hell? You opened up your old sign business. But you know what? We're going to support you on that. But we do demand you have to give us pictures of the pets. You have to give us pictures of the 2 dogs and 5 cats on a regular basis because the audience would just love it.
It would be my pleasure. As soon as they're not covered in poo constantly, I would be more than willing to do that, my friend.
Yeah, but you found the opportunity to go ahead and only feed them a couple times a day to go ahead and prevent them from pooping all the time.
Yeah, but for some reason, they're like little pea factories. They still manage to come up with it somehow.
Oh, yeah. At least hopefully it's more down to Tootsie Rolls instead of warm pudding.
Yeah, oh, God. Thanks for reminding me.
The pumpkin's been working, though, right?
It has. It actually
Thank God.
has. That was a very good suggestion.
And remember, guys, if you guys and gals, if you have a dog and it's starting to have the runs or whatever it is, give it pumpkin in their food. It does a great job on solidifying the magic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the audience, everyone loves a good poop joke, my friend. On that note, I want to thank everybody for coming out to this tonight's episode of Disclosure Tonight. More importantly, I want to thank all the people that have given us super chats tonight. Holy cow. Including Rick Doty, Ashley, Charles, Brian, Charles again, Charles a third time. My gosh, Charles is a serial supporter. Anonymous Rex, Kane, and Rez. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. More importantly, I want to go ahead and thank all the people that have been part of the chat tonight. Let me go ahead and find out who is still in the chat tonight. We've got a bunch of people still out there. I want to thank the people who've been here all night long, including AK, Abby Uraxa, Amiga Rules, Anne-Marie, Anton Ghost, Ashley Kennedy, Big Daddy, Captain Kirk, Captain Kirk, literally. Let's thank Charles Kerr, Craig, Dana H, Dave C, Dave Williams, Dave Workman, all the Daves are done, DEF CON, Eddie, L1 Hubbard has been here along with Eric Roth and the Gurus, Emmy, thanks for coming out today, Emmy. Let's thank Exploratory. You got a long name. Let's pass on. Firefly, Geraldine, Gizmo. Glenn has been here along with Great Awakening. Hemigod. Hugo's been here along with Joey Stoner. Good to see you, Joey. I appreciate always coming in the back, my friend. John Mooner, Joseph Wilson. Joey, you should be a regular in the back, my God, during the shows. You got a lot of great stuff to say. Just saying it again, Joey Stoner. Kathy, Caitlin, Kelly brought those piercing blue eyes. Also want to thank Megan, Michaela, Nancy, Nicholas, Peggy. Peggy, our heart goes out to you. And Steve, thank you so much for being a part of the show on a regular basis, my dear lady. Pete, Philip, Rebecca, Richard, Rick, Dodie, Rough Reddy, Sam Wallace, Sharon Rose, Sprightly Sprites, Gemstone Crystal Mineral Magic is the easiest name to say, although it's the longest name in our chat. Steven's been here along with Stephen Forbes, the Super Unknown, the Chromosome Cowboy, Tiger Town, Todd T, Toxic Revenger, Uber, Vern Dude, Vern. How's it going, Vern? When Weebs React, Yankee 58, and Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. What? You're supposed to be asleep, my friend. Thanks for coming out. Also, I also want to go ahead and thank our friends that have been in the back tonight. Who am I talking about? I want to go ahead and thank Ashley. Thanks for coming out today, Ashley.
Oops. Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear lady. Daryl Zernick, live long and prosper. Thanks for being here.
As always, thank you very much, Thomas. Loving it.
Ed Brown, appreciate your participation and expertise, my friend.
It's been a good night, Thomas, and thanks to all the people in the back for their comments. Good night to all the participants out in the audience, and even good night to the cats and dogs that have been referenced during the show.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ed. Also want to thank Freezer Man 71 from Canada. Thank you, Freezer Man.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Laura Campbell, thanks for coming out, my dear lady.
Thank you, Thomas. Thanks, Rick. Great information you shared tonight.
Michael Sokoloff, appreciate your questions. Sergeant Daniel, thanks for coming out.
Thank you, sir. And look forward to the next one.
You better believe it, my friend. Also want to go back to Syrup. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Thomas. Another good show tonight, man.
And TBT, thanks for your question up front, but it kind of want to derail us a bit. But we can't wait to hear what happens with those UHF signals, my friend.
Sure. I appreciate the time. Good show tonight. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
All right. And as we usually, and I get back to, if I say turn that off and turn it up and say, Mike, Disclosure. Thanks for coming out, my friend.
Oh, it was a great show. We had a lot to cover to the audience tonight, and we seem to have been the news topic of the day with the story that we have been covering on this. So yeah, it was fun.
I like Jeremy. I get where he's coming from, and although it could be quote unquote dangerous for disclosure, you know what? It's worth talking about. That's why we're talking about it here. And I can't wait till you get connected with you got connected with George today. Can't wait till you get connected with Jeremy.
That will be fun. That'll be interesting.
Oh, I know it, my friend. And Rick, I appreciate you coming out. I missed you, my friend. I didn't say thank you.
I miss you too. I miss you, everyone in here. We always have a great time. I'm sorry for being late, but I had to come back from Albuquerque, and I'm 85 miles away, so it took me some time. I was hoping to be on at 7, but that just didn't work out.
You know, you never had. You know what happens when you hit those ice road closures? On that note, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon, my friends. Y'all come back now. Here. Bye-bye.